All right, guys, what's up? How's it popping? How's it going? What it do? What's good? It's your girl, Lex.
Lex, is that really you?
Of course it's me, you twit.
So today, what am I gonna be doing? I'm doing something kind of long. It's gonna be a long video, so this will be a pretty short intro. I'm going to be doing a reaction and a breakdown. I'm going to be doing a reaction to Agust D's
It was at this moment that she knew she fucked up.
I don't really know how to say it. Daechwita. Anyway, it's I don't know how to say it. I don't speak Korean. Like, I mean, I feel like that goes without saying. But yeah, so I'm gonna be doing a reaction to his new music video. I'm so sorry. To his new music video. And he dropped it like a couple days ago. And then after that, I'm gonna do a breakdown. And that breakdown is going to include a description and my opinion of the sets, the scenery, plot / storyline, the characters, things like that. Trying to fit it all together, speculate up to like what like the backstory is, the underlying story is, because that's the kind of thing that I do and I love to do it. So I figured, why not do it here? Seems to be a good choice to try that on. So I guess is that becoming my thing right now? Do I have a thing yet? I don't know. This is only like my third video. So off rip, I can say this interior view is gorgeous. It's a throne room. Ooh. He just lounging there all comfy. Look at him walking down the stairs all cocky and stuff. Okay. Ooh, this courtyard. So it is a palace. Ooh, look at this view. Oh, wait. Huh? Okay. I'm gonna go with it. Okay, he just switched, but okay. Dun. Oh, he got a scar now. Okay. Okay, let me calm down. I didn't expect you to go as hard as it did. Oh, this is really colorful. Wait, is that Jin? Wait, that's Jin Cook. What? Ooh. Okay. Wow. Well, these people are. Is it a cow? I think it's a cow. We just ran up on one of them. Okay, wait. Where did you get that chain from? I mean, he has mad chains, but like, now he's in some sneaks. He was staying in some sneaks, I guess. Oh. What is that little place? Hey. Oh. Hey. I really love how he does that. I can talk about that later, but. Ooh, these flags. Oh. Is this like some kind of training yard? I'll say that, like some kind of like arena? Is that someone's head? Oh, it is. Oh! It's in the box. Is it a head in the box? Where did this car come from? What kind of car is this? Oh, this car. Oh. Wait. So there's two versions of him looking at each other? Is this some kind of conflict? Yo, him and the squad. Okay. Thoughts on this, I guess later. But clothing. His hair looks good though. Oh, he got an undercut. Ooh. So was he judging him? I feel like there's some conflict between these two. Oh, he judged him bad. Oh. Where is this? This is beautiful. Wait, now he blinded. So he judged him bad, so he became his prisoner? That contrast is gorgeous. Oh my god. Ooh, what is that pattern on the floor? He got this Legolas hair. What? he getting taken to him. Obviously, he's the prisoner. That's the executioner because he got a big ass sword. Got thrown on his knees. Yo, look at Legolas walking down the stairs looking all mad and shit. Okay, bitch. He totally about to chop off his head. I know he is. What? Bang! 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 It's a banger! Ooh, everybody, it's like a cult monkey, but also like it's not because it's not a cult. The swordplay is cool. Oh, now look at Yoongi Legolas looking like doing some sword movement. That's so cool. I don't know if it's called movement. Running through. I don't know what it's called. So he killed him. Oh no, so he cut off his ropes. He fell from that. Taking off his bindings. Ote, ote. What's in the box? A gun? He gave him a gun? Wait, I'm confused. How's there a gun? How is there even a car here? Isn't this the present? So, wait, what? So is he dead? Did his shot miss? Wait, what's going on? I have so many questions. Wait, what? So many questions. Okay, rounds of applause. Claps. So now that the video is over, I'm going to go into the breakdown. The first that we're going to be talking about is going to be that of the palace interior. It's our opening scene, so of course it's very important and definitely like sets us up for like the rest of the film. So I thought it was like important that we get a good baseline here, right? So first thoughts is like the architecture. So the first thing that we see is like into this like palace, right? Into this like throne room. It's definitely a throne because it's really ornate. So I did a little bit of research. I had a little bit of knowledge, but I wanted to confirm. But yes, Korean architecture is heavily influenced by Chinese architecture. The one thing I was like really interested in was the colors. I wanted to know the colors, the history behind it, like the patterns, like what that kind of meant. So I learned that there are 5 traditional Korean colors. They are called the
오뱅산.
I fell into that trap earlier. I won't do it again. I won't. So the 5 traditional Korean colors are black, blue, red, white, and yellow. So those are the 5 traditional colors. I also learned that there's like a secondary string of colors called the
오간산.
Doing it again. Yes. And they are actually made when you combine 2 of the original colors, which I thought was cool. And so those colors, I have written down over here. So those colors, we've got green, made from yellow and blue. We've got light blue, made from blue and white. We've got bright red, made from red and white. We've got sulfur yellow, that was how it was described, made from yellow and black. And then we have violet, made from red and black. Both sets of colors are really used a lot, painted in a combination in which like they ornament like wood structures, animals, plants, and like geometric patterns. It's used for ornamentation. Next, let's kind of like think about like plot, story. So we've got like this figure that's just kind of like lounging on like the throne, like whatever, like what's up, what's good, right? Like who is that and why is he there, right? I mean, like baseline questions to ask yourself, and like I said, it's important to set ourselves up for the rest of the video. So I'm assuming because he's lounging and comfortable on the throne that he belongs there, no? Or thinks he belongs there at the very least. So that leaves me with 3 options. 1, he's a king. I mean, of course, who else really sits on the throne other than a queen? 2, he's a prince or a crown prince or something of that nature. I mean, not yet a king, but will be. So he's like practicing. I don't know. 3, he's an usurper. An usurper, you know? He threw a coup d'etat or some shit like that. Usurper. That's probably not what he is, but like there's a possibility that that's what he could be. Who knows? Right? Anyway, it's important to maybe get like a baseline understanding of, or like choose like which one you think that this character represents at the beginning of the video. Power differences in all 3 of those things, like they have completely different backstories. So who do I think he is? He's either, I'm going to go with either king or usurper. All right, so then we've talked about the setting, we've talked about the plot, the story. So let's talk about the costume, the character, right? So if he's a king slash usurper, I think he obviously is, because he's really well dressed. I mean, he's wearing this like black gold ensemble, and I mean, gold is not really something that a commoner would wear, right? It's like they don't have the money for that. I mean, he's wearing black, and I feel like it's because he wants to be like edgy, like I'm bad, you know, like I'm a bad king. Maybe he's a bad king, and I feel like we see that later, but like, you know, I feel like he's trying to say like I'm a bad king by wearing like these super dark colors. I mean, black definitely sets well with gold. He's following in the footsteps of Wiz Khalifa, you know, like black and yellow. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Why is he blonde? Like, what does that do for us, for the character? Like, is he related to Legolas? All right, now we are on to set number 2. Right, so set number 2 is like the main courtyard. The camera has taken us out to the exterior, and now we're like looking back at the main house of the palace. And again, heavily influenced by Chinese architecture. I mean, you see those hip roofs and stuff. The basic tenets of Chinese architecture, a will to like retain or like balance symmetry, like want to balance things out, tend to adhere to like these traditional principles of like north-south direction on this axis. You know, we can definitely tell that like it's typical just because it's got the walled enclosures, it's got restrictive gateways, courtyards that are built within the palace walls. The courtyard, this whole enclosure is a symbol of the main character's power, the status of the character, the status of the family, the status of the country in terms of wealth and power and yada yada yada. The roofs often tend to create this like hierarchy of like a physicalized hierarchy of scale. So like for instance, like the main house, I'm gonna call it like the main house. It's not a house because it's a palace, but like the main house, it's the tallest building. It's got the most intricate roofs, and it's just the center of the eye. I mean, in this shot, it's definitely the center of the eye. There's a architectural connection to the nature here, in that, you know, like the hip roofs, the curves of the hip roof like are leading the eye out to the nature and maintain this like flow. There's a flow in the curves of this architecture, and in a way trying to simplify natural forms. It's always beautiful. This nature, it's great. It's set in a valley. I mean, it's super lush, right? I'm assuming it's like late spring, early summer. So these open courtyard areas, like these big main courtyards, were typically used in like as like areas of like reception, right? For ceremonies and to display like strength and wealth through these different forms of ceremonies or like, you know, shows that they would put on. And the show can mean anything. It could be like a literal, like festive kind of like show, or like shows like we see here. This is a show of power, right? Because he's got dead bodies on the floor. Like at first I was like, oh, it's kind of like quiet and orderly, which makes sense because it's a palace, right? Everything is in its place, you know, like they want to make sure that they're on top of their shit. Neat, right? Neat and orderly. But I don't think so. What I think is everybody's dead. Everybody is dead. The courtyard has some dead bodies in it. They're just laying there, right? But the odd thing, or maybe it's not an odd thing, they definitely like stand out because of the color of like the fabric that's draped over them, but they oddly don't stand out, you know? Like they oddly seem to fit. They don't feel out of place. And I wonder if that's just because they're like respectfully covered. So I'm gonna talk about when we come back to the courtyard later, and we have the prince, and what I'm assuming are some of his subject colors of the robes are definitely offset against the paleness, the pale stones of the courtyard. And it makes for a quite pretty shot. It's very distinct, nice like lines, some nice like forms, like little hump forms. It's kind of cute. Maybe they're like magistrates or leaders of provinces or like some shit like that. All I know is that they kowtow into him, which the kowtow I know is like the highest sign of reverence. It's typically used for like someone's elder, superiors, maybe when someone's apologizing, especially used in the presence of the emperor. He a king, right? He a king. And then he just runs up on one of them. He just ran up on one of them, just like all about like da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's not a jungle gym, it's a person. Nah. But he's the king, so I guess he can like do that. All right, and now we are on to scene number 3, right? Number 3. So that is the marketplace. Honestly, I was quite excited when I saw this because I just have always been really into like marketplaces, any kind of like commerce area in like movies and TV shows. I just feel like it really brings the idea of whatever world you're watching to life, right? Because it's like, what is more real than like food? What is more real than people bartering? Like, there's just a certain like complexity and intenseness and realness, I feel like, that we see when we see these interactions between people, and I love it. So I really like that we get a marketplace in the music video. Marketplace is really interesting, right? Like, you can tell a lot about a country, or you can tell a lot about a place from the marketplace, right? I mean, like, how could you not? A marketplace tells you everything. What the people look like, what the products look like, the general organization of the marketplace. Like, for instance, in this marketplace, right? It's fairly well organized. It's fairly well lit. It's bright, you know, which tells us that it's a very polite kind of society. Maybe the people in this marketplace know each other pretty well. Everything just seems quite orderly, in fact, quite together, in fact. It's not like, you know, things are not smashed together, you know, there's not like a bunch of different vendors all screaming at you. It's not like a gigantic marketplace. Even though this marketplace is fairly orderly, there's still like a lot going on, right? There's still like all this movement and complexity that contrast the regimented order of the palace. And I feel like they're in contrast, which we later see that contrast flows into our characters or is embodied by the two main characters or the one main character. The colors of the marketplace, they make a lot of sense. You've got like the really nice, beautiful green of like the valley of the greenery, the lushness that's around. But then there's like the mostly like muted tones of the architecture, which is like to be expected, right? It's probably some kind of like clay or earthen walls, or clay or earth that's been slapped over wood, which has darkened over time due to like erosion and like weathering, right? They're old, they're lived in, they're well used, which makes sense for like the colors of the marketplace. And then you've got like the gray of the tiles that are on the roofs, and then you have the people in the marketplace, right? The people in the marketplace, they are wearing like decent clothing. They're not wearing like rags. They're not wearing clothing that's only like grays or browns. They're wearing like blues, you know? Like, that means that they can maybe afford to purchase fabric in that color, and maybe in some of their instances they make fabric or whatever, but that means they can afford to do that, which means that this marketplace, this town, this area is doing well. These people are doing well. It's just telling you a lot about the story, isn't it? So let's move on to plot and story. So at this point, we've exchanged King Yoongi for what I'm gonna be calling like street Yoongi, right? Like, he's like the commoner Yoongi, because before he was wearing like black and gold, symbol of his status automatically, right? But now he's wearing these, I guess you could say, I'm not really sure again, but like more traditional like clothing, but like in lighter, paler tones, which means he kind of like pops from the colors of the market, as he should. It's less ornate than the clothing of the previous Yoongi, of King Yoongi, right? Yeah, but there's pops of color in terms of the clothing of the people in the marketplace, and also things in the marketplace, such as the wares, the produce, the livestock. It all just makes for very colorful living, but still in a palette that doesn't scream at you. And so then we have this scene of Yoongi and like his backup dancers, Yoongi and the squad, right? I'm just gonna start calling them the Yoong squad because in my head they're the Yoong squad. So the Yoong squad, right? Again, he's got that light clothing which distinguishes him from the clothing of his squad. You know, the squad members have dark clothing. Some of them are wearing plaid. That one cat is wearing a bandana. I guess two of them wearing a bandana, but like, you know, he's definitely popping. He definitely pops from the clothing of the squad. And I feel like we can't just not talk about the contrast between King Yoongi and Street Yoongi, right? These two very different entities. Like the king represents wealth and power and royalty and is wearing these very dark colors, and street Yoongi is wearing all light colors and represents what it might be to be a commoner, to be a working man, or potentially, I don't really know. I'm not really saying it's a reach, but I'm just saying that that's what I'm reading. This is all my interpretation. Take it how you will. So like, yeah, I just assume that he's a commoner. And I say that because, you know, he's wearing lighter colors. They're less patterned, less ornate. And the first time we see this characterization is in a marketplace, you know, amongst the commoners. I would be remiss not to ask this question, right? Appreciation versus appropriation. And I know that's something that's actually prevalent in K-pop. It seems to happen quite a lot, particularly whenever an artist is doing like a harder image or like a harder comeback or whatever, and they're like a rapper, and they just seem to like fall into these traps. Why? Like the one thing I really want to see is somebody do rap or do a hip hop image or do a hip hop like album or whatever, and not and just not imitate, not appropriate. Here it's less blatant, as I've seen in like other music videos and stuff. It's like they only assume that rappers dress a certain way, or that street people dress a certain way, and I'm like, it's a lot of it has to do with how the media has portrayed us, and I can get into that because right now that's definitely a hot topic issue, and I feel very passionate about it, if you can tell. I'd really like to see somebody do like a rap look or a hip hop look or a hip hop album, whatever, a hard look, and not throw it back to 90s rappers, and not, you know, try to imitate current day rappers with their grills and their baby rainbow dreads. And like, I'd rather them just like, you can be a rapper and be whoever else that you are. Like rap is not about ascribing to that one aesthetic. Like do something different, you know? And I want to say that, yeah, I'm gonna challenge them to do it, but I mean, like, who am I? Actually, no. I'm Lex, I can challenge them. But it's just like, I really want to see somebody do rap without imitation. I want to see someone do rap without appropriating Black culture, because we really have had enough of that. So the next setting is actually like, it's not in the music video for very long, but it's like a veranda or like some kind of like outside peripheral walkway, which is literally the definition of a veranda. So why did I not? It's a veranda, okay. But I'm assuming that it's you know, part of the palace, simply because it's quite ornate, and it's not something that would typically be found amongst like workers or like commoners, would it? Not with like all the now. And the more that I look at it, the more that I wonder if it's actually like a jail cell or like some barrack or something. There's lots of vertical lines, lots of bars, which just tend to, in my mind, remind me of jail cells, like off rip. So it's interesting. At this point, we know, after having watched the video, I know that they're waiting for their joyride. But initially, I thought they were like, initially I thought it was like, I thought this was like some kind of like field trip, and like this modern day street Yoongi was having like some like flashbacks or something to like a previous life or something, or like daydreaming or something. I'm not quite sure what I thought he was doing, but I do know that I did not know that they were going to go riding like right after this. And to briefly talk about, this is the second look that we see from street Yoongi, right? He's dressed in this like modern day, or well, not modern day, but no, modern day. He's dressed in like modern urban clothing, which is typically associated with street culture. He's dressed in this like modern day like clothing, which is kind of similar to the clothing that he had before, but the colors are different. But the colors are still quite chill. They're still quite like neutral, you know, like now we've got some greens going in there and stuff, but like everything is like, he's not wearing anything like bright or nothing, no? That he still stayed like neutral. And of course he like blends in with the Young squad like real well. So the next scene that we are onto, the training yard or the execution yard. Originally I wasn't really quite sure what it was, but when I went back and looked, I saw a lot of stuff, right? So first we have this like, this balcony. It's like it's made for viewing something. And when you look at what else is there, you see bodies, right? Bodies. They're about to be executed. Did we know that? I did not know that originally until like it kind of like zooms out and you see more bodies, and then you see him like holding up like the white bag, the bloody white bag that has his head in it. Oh my gosh. And then you look back at the balcony and there's 3 bags of heads already hanging. And I was like, oh, it's like the execution yard. So it's like execution, but it's like festive, question mark, because it's got these super colorful flags, you know, from the balcony leading outwards, leading your eye outwards. That's good line composition right there. But like when I thought about it, like after the initial shock of like, oh my god, wait, they killing people here, I realized, of course, it's a dirt arena for executing people. That makes a lot of sense because dirt goes a long way in soaking up blood. I mean, not that I know from personal experience, I'm just saying that like, I assume, you know, dirt, liquid, I mean a liquid of some form, so I mean, it makes sense, it makes sense.
12 seconds later.
The dirt even makes more sense when we see that old car ripped through the lot. I was like, huh? First of all, think back to the 2 sets of colors, the 2 sets of traditional colors we were talking about before, and what those meanings could imply here. Probably a lot. But also one of my first thoughts when I saw the flags, and then when I saw the car, race cars. Why? Because an old ass car came ripping through the lot, right? And so like I looked into it a little bit, and just because I was curious and my mind tends to go on these tangents, and so I like looked into it a little bit. And of course different flags, different colors have different meanings. Read those meanings and those colors, some of the same colors that can be found in those traditional vibrant colors, and like compare the 2. Okay, but let's get back to the car. The old ass car, hyped up car that literally ripped through the lot. I'm sorry, let's talk about that car, right? The car fits in well with the aesthetic of King Yoongi, right? Because I'm assuming that it's like black and yellow. So I'm wondering if in fact Street Yoongi stole the car from King Yoongi, which is why he picked up the keys from like somebody else. You know, he got the Connect gave him the keys, and he was like, let's go for a joyride. Right? That's why they were waiting on the veranda, right? And of course he's like in his face like, ha 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 ha, gang gang, ha. But also, where did the car come from? See, this Street Yoongi just comes in to this old lot, him and the crew, the Yoongi squad, just burning out donuts. Like, wait. And then at first I thought the King Yoongi was like judging them on like the validity of their donuts, and I was like, that's kind of stupid. But then what I actually realized is that he's saying live or die, right? That's kind of like a Roman thing. The Romans used to do that too in the Colosseum. That's what, I guess it was the emperor or whatever, like the highest power person was watching the fights that day, but they would say like live or die. They'd hold up their hands for like a long time, like building up the suspense in the crowd and be like, die. And then, you know, my brain, again, I digress. So, and then of course the dust just adds an extra like layer, an extra visual texture, and it just reinforces the idea of like where we are and the purpose of this dirt, right? The purpose of this dust. Again, I can't not talk about the contrast between King Yoongi and Street Yoongi, because like, here's my theory, and like you just gotta stay with me on this. Let me get it out. Considering the setting, we've seen the palace and the marketplace, right? So at this point, we could possibly, totally, maybe assume that that is present day, right? Which means that Street Yoongi and the Yoongi squad are possibly from the future, right? If the marketplace and the palace is the present day, which means the king is present day, that means that Street Yoongi and the car are from the future. Because ain't no cars around at that time. So they from the future. So that means that's why they're conflicting. Because it's a time paradox. It's a paradox. It's a paradox. How are they even looking at each other without time literally just destroying itself? How's that possible? Literally everything I've ever read, every comic book I like have ever read, every manga I've ever read basically says that there's a time paradox. You cannot meet yourself. And yet here they are. I mean, there could totally be another meaning to this, and there probably is, but all I know at this point is that Yoongi out here trying to break reality, break the laws of time travel. He tries to try to be different. And I mean, like, I can say that this is quite a valid idea if you consider the clothing of, you know, all the other characters that we see. Like, take the king's clothing, right? It represents a particular time period. Same with the small views that we see of the people in the marketplace, like Jin and Jungkook and everyone else in the marketplace. Compare that to like Street Yoongi and the Young Squad. That's not the same. That's not from the same time. No. It's not. So that means they cross in time streams. Somebody crossing somewhere. What? And I feel like this is the reason for the conflict between them. That and Street Yoongi stole King Yoong's car? Honestly, what is this? All right, we are on to the next scene, the jail scene. For me, this was the most interesting and the most initially confusing set, thus my favorite. I want to say it's a prison, right? It looks like a prison. All those vertical lines tend to remind me of jail cells, right? Of some kind of like holding cell. Particularly because he's bound when we see him in this setting. At some point, we switch over to the bound and blindfolded Street Yoongi, which I took to mean capture. Initially, I'm not sure what I took that to mean. I just was like, oh, now he blindfolded. All right, cool. But I later realized that it's a jail cell. That's like a jail area to holding area. So that he's like basically like in prison awaiting his trial after King Yoongi was like, kill him, off with his head. What this scene really is for me is all about color here. The first thing I noticed was the gray blue tone to the set and the lighting, which we later see like deepens to like a dark, deep, beautiful like blue. And I'm wondering if that's like a psych or like a backdrop, or I guess they just, you know, played with it in post and stuff. I'm wondering if this is like a built set right here. Most of this, like most of the palace scenes, like the interior of the palace scene, I guess that could be a built set. The exterior, I'm assuming that's shot on location somewhere that, you know, like they rented it out and stuff. The veranda and the marketplace, I also feel like could be built sets. It would be easier to make built sets because then you could have it exactly as you want it, right? And I'm wondering if this is also a built set or if this is shot on location and just like gussied it up a little bit, you know, a little paint here and there, a little dirt here and there. It's like the at first we see the contrast. It's like a lighter sky and like this building is somewhat silhouetted, but there's some details that are readily available for us to like pick up on, which I think is like really beautiful. And I love how the angle makes it seem like the building is like looming. But what really sets this apart for me is the contrast between the gray blues initially and the like hot orange of the fires. They're just like so beautiful because they contrast and yet complement the grays, and we later see the darker blue tones of the backdrop, of the background. That hot orangeness of the fire, which it later filters into like a more yellow color. It just really offsets the depth here. And that lighting comes into full effect. The fires come into full effect when the night scene deepens, when it deepens from like that grayer tone that lets it be like a more readable set to like the deep blue and the basically black of the buildings. I mean, we love a good silhouette, right? We love a good silhouette. And then you have the fires. Again, there's an added layer of contrast because the fires are closer to us, so they provide a lot of depth, and the way that they light up his body, he's completely cast in that light. And again, that contrast is beautiful, and it's color theory working well. All right, and so one of the last things I'll shoot will be the palace interior. The palace interior, I mean, we've already seen the throne room before, but at this point, King Yoongi is practicing his swordplay, or like, I guess like moving through katas. I don't know if katas is strictly a Japanese thing. I don't know, but moving through katas. And I thought it was like in preparation to like deal the final blow. I thought he was gonna like kill him or like run him through or like fight him or something. And of course he'd be well versed as a king because he would have been tutored in the art of fighting, the art of war. Fair? No? Yes, he totally would have, definitely. But so that's an interesting. Lastly, we are going to talk about the main courtyard again, but this is the night scene. Yeah, so at this point, so we already talked about the architecture of it. In terms of like colors, so we have the darkness of the night and the darkness of the building, which is offset by the paleness of the stone courtyard and the torches, the fire pots that are, you know, strategically placed throughout the courtyard. And then again, we can't forget that majority of the lighting that we see here is moonlight, which is, you know, reflecting off the stone courtyard. And of course, you know, the lighting that they used to make this music video. Scenes like this are always dramatic because it's just like, again, it's taking that same color theory and using it here, as we saw before in the jail scene, right? Just to a greater extent and giving us a lot more depth, a lot more scenery to work with. So we have cocky King Yoongi, who awaits captured, bound, and blindfolded street Yoongi, yeah? Who's brought in by an executioner. And of course, you know, he's kind of like thrown to his knees by the executioner at the base of the stairs. Stairs are always used as a way to denote like status as a dividing and defining element of like social positions, you know, of characters. So that's what we definitely see here. I had initially assumed he was the executioner, right? Because he's carrying a big ass sword, right? And I'm like, oh, he gonna kill him for sure. And then, you know, there's a scene where everyone's like nodding along, very cult-like or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you know, executioner, he's stretching, you know? He's getting ready to do some damage. But apparently not, because then he cut the ropes off of Street Yoongi, right? Okay. When I say I was surprised, I was definitely surprised, right? I was even more befuddled when the fake ass executioner then presents Street Yoongi with a box, right? And I was like, oh, what's in the box? What's in the box? And lo and motherfucking behold, inside the box is a gun. A gun. A handgun. I don't know what type of gun it is, but it's definitely most obviously from the future. Like the car was. What? Again, it's cross time streams. Just what paradoxes? Apparently they're not a thing, but they definitely are. So then Street Yoongi takes the gun out of the box, right? Points it at King Yoongi, right? I was like, wait, what is happening? And I was like, oh, so it wasn't King Yoongi that's the usurper. It's Street Yoongi that's the usurper. What? Let's go then. Radical change. But then the video ends? Somebody explain this to me. What? On a cliffhanger? No. That's some shit. That's some bullshit right there. Why would they do that to us? Like, I mean, I know what they would do that to us, but it doesn't mean I appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. I want to know what happened. Why was he released? Obviously, he was released on the order of King Yoongi, right? Otherwise, the fake ass executioner would die. Why was Street Yoongi offered the gun? Because like obviously he's going to like use that shit against King Yoongi. He was his captor. Am I lying? I know I'm not. You saw the same thing I saw. But then another question, why is there a gun in the first place? I'm sorry. Huh? It's from the future. What? I'm so confused. I'm confused. I am befuddled. Let's not forget though that the gun had like wrappings on it and stuff. Wrappings? Maybe the same fabric that was used to blindfold Street Yoongi? Does that mean it's Street Yoongi's or does that mean it's the King's? Why would the King have a gun if he's from the present? That is actually the past. And what is going on here? I mean, like, if it is Street Yoongi's, right? Let's say it is Street Yoongi's for whatever reason, because he's from the future. So he brought a gun with him, right? In the car. He had a gun in the car. Did Street Yoongi, like, did he drop it? Did he lose it? Was it stolen? But like, most importantly, I need to know how the paradox ends. Like, fuck a cliffhanger. Nah. Like, he was holding that gun for steady a minute. He was holding that gun for long enough for King Yoongi to like move out the way, duck out the way, stop, drop, and roll or whatever. I need to know what happened, how the paradox ends. Can future him kill present him? What does that mean to time or for time? Somebody tell me. I got too many questions. But I mean, what do y'all think happened? Shit. I need a drink. the end of the video. I finished my breakdown, finished the reaction. I guess I will just have to live with my ignorance. I will have to live with my unanswered questions for the rest of time. Oh joy. I'm sure I'll find some way to go on. But anyway, if you like this video, if you like what I did here, if you have some comments, please put them down below. Any kind of like commentary or critique you have on like what I could do better in the video, what you would like to maybe see, you could drop in the comments down below. If there's anything that y'all might want me to react to or things you'd like to see me do a kind of breakdown, similar breakdown for, please let me know. Cause I have nothing but time on my hands right now, don't I? Thanks, Rona. Like, comment, or subscribe to this channel. Honestly, this is the beginning of hopefully a long journey together. No? Okay, it's fine. It's cool. I'll just be with myself. It's whatever. A good time, possibly a great time. And I guess I will see you guys later.